I'm Sheryl, and this is Sleep Tight, Relax, a calming bedtime show for the young and young at heart. In this story, we are going to meet a boy named Jax, who has moved to a new home. Jax misses his friends and the activities they used to do. In this new neighborhood, Jax sees lots of his neighborhood kids with their fancy gadgets, shiny bikes, and cell phones, and wishes he could have those too. Maybe he'd fit in better then. Before we listen to our story, let's get cozy and comfortable and spend some time getting relaxed. If you are lying in your bed, you can close your eyes and think about the people in your family. Feel your pillow under your head, soft and supportive. Let your body sink into your bed, like a leaf floating gently down to rest on a calm lake. As we are taking some deep breaths, I'd like you to think about all the ways that your family helps you each day. Now let's take some deep, slow breaths to help us relax. Imagine you have a balloon in your belly. When you breathe in, fill the balloon with air, slowly and gently. Breathe in through your nose for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and watch your balloon grow. Hold your breath for a moment, and now let the air out of the balloon through your mouth slowly for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Feel your balloon getting smaller. Can you think of 2 things that your family does for you? On your next deep breath, think about your friends. What are some things that they do for you or help you with? Take another deep, slow breath in through your nose, as big a breath as you can and as slow as you can. Now slowly let the air out through your mouth. Did you think of something that your friends do with you? As you take your next deep breath, remember all the times that you helped your family or your friends. Take another slow, deep breath in through your nose, as big a breath as you can and as slow as you can. Now slowly let the air out through your mouth. Try it again. Take a slow, deep breath in, filling your belly with air, and slowly exhale the air out through your mouth. After a few deep breaths, you feel more relaxed, calm, and ready. Make sure you are still tucked in tight as we start our story. Jax's garden. In Charlottetown, in a neighborhood where the houses nestled close together, whispering tales like companions, sharing age-old stories, Jax and his mom had found their new home. It wasn't a big house, but it was theirs. A cozy 2-story with peeling green paint and a yard that whispered of hidden stories. Jax was a quiet boy with a head full of dreams and a heart full of hope. He hadn't been born in Charlottetown, and he missed his old friends and the familiar streets where he used to play soccer until the streetlights flickered on. Here in this new place, he felt like a puzzle piece from a different box, trying to fit in. His mom tried her best to make their new house feel like a home. She cooked spaghetti that could make you forget your worries, and she always found time to sit and talk with Jax, even when she was tired from long hours at work. Jax's room was on the second floor, with a window overlooking their backyard. He often sat there, knees pulled up to his chest, watching the neighborhood kids play with their fancy gadgets and shiny bikes. Jax didn't have those things. Instead, he had an old soccer ball and a shelf full of books that had traveled with him from their old home. He didn't mind not having the latest toys or games. Well, not too much anyway. But sometimes, when he heard the laughter of the other kids, a small voice inside him whispered, "Wouldn't it be nice to have those things too? Maybe then you'd fit in better." One afternoon, while exploring the backyard, Jax stumbled upon something unexpected: a forgotten garden. It lay hidden behind a tangle of wild bushes and overgrown weeds, like a secret waiting to be discovered. It was clear it hadn't been cared for in a long time. Jax knelt down, pushing aside some weeds, and uncovered a small, stubborn flower fighting for sunlight. It was a tough little thing, and Jax couldn't help but smile. Maybe, just maybe, he thought, this garden could be his special place, where he didn't need to worry about fitting in or having the latest gadgets. That night, over a plate of spaghetti, Jax told his mom about the garden. She listened, her eyes twinkling with interest, and then she said something that made Jax's heart leap. "Why don't you take care of it, Jax? It could be your project for the summer." Jax nodded, excitement bubbling inside him. He didn't know the first thing about gardening, but was eager to learn. It was a challenge, and he was ready to dive in. As he lay in bed that night, Jax thought about the garden. He imagined it full of flowers and plants, a little oasis in their backyard, a place where he could invite the neighborhood kids and show them something that didn't come from a store, but from hard work and care, a place that was uniquely his. And with that thought, Jax drifted off to sleep, dreaming of the hidden wonders his home in Charlottetown might hold. The next morning, Jax woke up with the sun, his mind buzzing with thoughts of the garden. After a quick breakfast of fruity cereal and milk, he headed outside, determined to start his new project. But as he stood there, looking at the wild mess before him, he felt a tiny knot of doubt. Where should he even begin? Meanwhile, the neighborhood was waking up, and the sounds of laughter and chatter floated over the fences. Jax could see his classmates showing off their latest gadgets in a backyard nearby. They had smartphones with shiny screens and the newest video games that everyone at school talked about. Jax felt a familiar twinge of envy. He wished he could join them, wished he had cool things to share too. But he shook off the feeling and turned his attention to the garden. He started by pulling out the weeds, which seemed to fight back as if they didn't want to leave their home. Sweat trickled down his forehead as he worked, and his hands grew sore. Gardening was harder than he had thought. That afternoon, while Jax was sitting on the grass taking a break, his mom came out with a glass of lemonade. She noticed the look on his face and asked, "What's wrong, Jax?" Jax hesitated and then said, I wish I had the things that other kids have. Then maybe they'd like me more." His mom sat down beside him, her eyes soft and understanding. "Jax," she said gently, "having things isn't what makes people like you. It's who you are that matters. And you, my dear Jax, are more than enough." Jax nodded, not entirely convinced, but comforted by her words. He sipped his lemonade, feeling the cool liquid soothe his parched throat. Over the next few weeks, Jax worked tirelessly in the garden. He cleared the weeds, dug up the soil, and planted seeds he had picked out with his mom. He learned to water the plants just right and found joy in seeing the first green shoots push their way up through the earth. As the days grew warmer and longer, Jax's garden began to take shape. What was once an overgrown patch of land was now sprouting with life. Every morning, Jax would rush outside, his curiosity driving him to check on the progress of his plants. He felt a sense of wonder watching the transformation. Tiny seeds turning into delicate sprouts, and then into vibrant flowers and lush greenery. The garden became his sanctuary, where he didn't feel pressure to fit in or be someone he wasn't. With the beauty of the garden came challenges. One day, Jax noticed little bites on the leaves of his plants. Bugs. He felt worried. His garden, his sanctuary, was under attack. Jax remembered something his mom had said about natural ways to keep pests away. He spent hours researching and then preparing homemade, eco-friendly pest repellents. It was a lot of work, but Jax was determined to protect his garden. He also started a compost pile, learning about the magic of turning kitchen scraps into nutrient-rich food for his plants. Jax's garden was not just growing plants. It was teaching him about the cycles of nature, responsibility, and the rewards of hard work. As the garden flourished, so did Jax's curiosity and creativity. He started experimenting with plant combinations, learning which flowers attracted butterflies and which herbs grew best in the shade. The garden became a canvas for his imagination, where he could express himself and see the results of his care and attention. Neighbors began to notice. They would stop to admire the garden, complimenting Jax on his hard work. Some even asked for advice on starting their own gardens. Jax, once shy, found himself eagerly sharing tips and stories about his gardening adventures. One particularly warm evening, as Jax watered his garden, he heard the familiar sounds of laughter and chatter from his friends. They were gathered around their gadgets, immersed in a digital world. Jax looked at his garden, then back at his friends, and a realization dawned on him. He had something special, something real and tangible. He had created a piece of nature's art, a living, breathing space that brought beauty and calm. At that moment, Jax felt much different. He didn't need the latest gadgets or games to find happiness or friendship. He had discovered the joy of nurturing life, being patient and persistent, and seeing beauty in simple, natural things. As summer reached its peak in Charlottetown, Jax's garden had been transformed into a beautiful place. The once neglected garden was now a vibrant array of colors and scents. Flowers bloomed in brilliant red, yellow, and purple hues, while the vegetable patch offered a bounty of greens, tomatoes, and zucchinis. The garden didn't just look good, but it was also a haven for birds, bees, and butterflies. The garden also had a way of drawing people in. Jax's friends, initially curious, became regular visitors. They were charmed by the garden's tranquility, a stark contrast to the constant buzz of their electronic devices. The garden became a new gathering spot. The kids didn't get rid of their gadgets completely, but they did come to appreciate Jax and the value of his project. Jax was no longer the shy new kid in the neighborhood. His friends looked at him with newfound respect. They started asking questions about planting and the wonders of nature. Jax, once hesitant to speak up, would now share his knowledge and experiences. One evening, as the sun painted the sky in shades of orange and pink, Jax sat in the garden with his friends. They were all engaged in a project Jax had suggested, building a small birdhouse. There was laughter and chatter, but also a sense of teamwork and camaraderie. They were learning to work with their hands, away from screens and keyboards. This was what Jax had longed for, a sense of belonging, of connection. Jax's mother watched from the kitchen window, a smile on her face. She saw her son surrounded by friends. As the leaves began to turn amber and gold, signaling the arrival of fall in Charlottetown, Jax gazed at his garden with a sense of accomplishment and wonder. The previously neglected and overgrown space was now thriving, brimming with life and color. But the garden's transformation was not just about the plants, but also about Jax's transformation. He had started the summer feeling out of place, envious of his peers with their gadgets and games. But as he nurtured his garden, his perspective began to shift. He realized joy didn't come from having the latest technology or fitting in with the crowd. It came from the satisfaction of creating something beautiful, connecting with nature, and the simple pleasures of life. This story reminds us to appreciate the beauty in the world around us, find joy in simple things, and understand that true happiness comes from within, from our actions and connections with others. Sometimes the best treasures are found not in material possessions, but in the experiences we create and the relationships we nurture. If you are still awake, I would like you to whisper to yourself or just say in your mind, I can find joy and wonder in the simple things around me, just like Jax did in his garden. I am unique and special, and I don't need to have what everyone else has to be happy. Every day, I am grateful for what I have and the amazing things I can create with my own hands. I am calm, relaxed, and peaceful. Sleep tight.